And the geek shall inherit the podcast. What is the good word, everybody? It's your boy Scoop Dog, and let's get into the Peacemaker finale. But right before we do, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe button, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you times a million. All right, my first thoughts on this. One, we the fans hyped this up way too much, and I think after maybe a second watch it'll have more of an appreciation effect on me. But based on last week, a lot of the hype was around who was going to make a cameo in this finale to tie into the next phase, or the next movie for the DCU. And all the speculations went out there, from Henry Cavill to the former DCU Justice League, and fans went crazy, only to find out that no one cameoed. We didn't even get like a continuation of what happened to Keith after they left Earth X. There's a few loose ends that they did not fulfill for us in this episode. Now, I also want to say that it wasn't exactly the best episode of the season, but it did its job in explaining and bringing the main elements full circle. Like, we finally understand now and see what happened with Harcourt and Peacemaker on this boat ride where something happened between them. And from the beginning, I always speculated that they got drunk and they slept together. But it turns out that it was something more powerful, more intimate. It was a kiss that they had on this boat. And that's what he kept asking. Did it mean anything to you? Did it mean anything to you? And we finally get the answer to that, which is a yes. And it comes up at a time when Peacemaker is giving up. He wants to move away. He wants to be away from everyone because he feels that he's cursed. And his friends bail him out of jail using Vigilante's money, and he wasn't gonna go, no matter what, no matter how many nice things they said to him. He was not going to budge. I think Leota gave the most touching speech, and I always sensed that they had the most powerful friendship. They had the strongest connection as friends, and she said it. Not even her former girlfriend or wife, they didn't even have that kind of bond that her and Peacemaker had. And they separated during this episode too. But all it took for Peacemaker to come to life again was knowing that kiss meant something between him and Harcourt. So we have that goal achieved for Peacemaker. And we also learn a little something about Vigilante and Peacemaker also, is that the relationship between them is that he treats Vigilante more like a little brother and not so much like someone on his level. He relies on him for a lot of things, of course, when you got to get down and dirty for these missions, but also he sons him, as we say, like a little brother. And it's because he had a bad relationship with his older brother, so he's trying to make up for that and trying to fill that void for Vigilante. So that was a nice little thing they explained there. Now let's get into the crazy stuff, man. The things that really stood out about this episode. It was when Flagg had his little Argus team investigating the Pocky universe. I thought we were going to get an explanation as to why that alien kept coming out to dispose of those other little aliens. I thought we were going to get a finally the reason why we kept seeing it come out, but that was left unresolved also. But the first door we go through is door 22, which is a bit of a change for television to go with 22 instead of 23. Don't get me started on that. But through this door is a universe that was addressed in episode 1 of this season, when Augie and Keith and Peacemaker are discussing what happened when the other Peacemaker went through that door into that Candyland. They call it the Candyland universe, and he was attacked by a bunch of imps that tackled him, and he crossed back over and brought them into the house, and then they had to kill them. And Augie even says that he believes that one of them skeeted in his cereal. And we know that they are little horny creatures from the way they attacked Tim Meadows' character, I think his name is Flurry, and tried to basically make love to his face. And thank God he had the protective shield over his mask, or else he would have been traumatized in more ways than one. That little exploration goes really bad. Those things are wild and extremely vicious and in bad need of being neutered. Then we go into another universe where we have these giant skulls with spider legs, and it looks like a prehistoric monster world. We see another world. It's just like a black hole that's pulling them in, and all this time we're trying to figure out, there's so many casualties, they're losing so many men, and they're just trying to figure out, why is Rick Flagg doing this? What is the point of all this? And we come to find out that he is looking for a sustainable Earth to send all the metahumans to as a prison. But first and foremost, he wants to use it to get rid of Peacemaker forever. Man, there's no loss like the loss of a loved one or a son or daughter. So this grief and this rage and this need for revenge is so incredible in Rick Flagg. But it also connects to what happened in Superman with, the metahumans and him thinking that Superman was, I still think that he doesn't believe that Superman's parents didn't send him here to conquer. So he's on this thing now where he believes Lex, doesn't want to work with Lex, doesn't trust Lex, but wants to carry out his legacy to the point where he brought out the whole team again. And it was, they're having more fun testing out these universes than Lex was having controlling Ultraman. And they're doing coke, they're drinking, they're having the time of their lives while Argus agents are dying left and right. All this to figure out a way to throw these metahumans and Peacemaker somewhere where they cannot come back. And his whole plan is to use Peacemaker to see if humans could survive, because we know that Peacemaker is not a metahuman. So in the end, Rick Flagg gets his wish and tosses Peacemaker into this strange universe where we don't know what life exists here. It's just in the middle of this grassland with these woods surrounding the perimeter, and then you hear these creatures rattling the trees in the woods, and we don't know what world he ended up in. Some people speculate that it's that prehistoric spider skull world, but I'm not sure. And that's where the story ends, with that. Peacemaker feels appreciated, knows that Harcourt has feelings for him, and is trying to learn to forgive himself. And right when he reaches that moment, they snatch him up and toss his ass into another world. And this comes after they establish Checkmate, their own agency. The whole gang said, forget Argus and forget everyone. Let's start our own business. Let's start our own agency and let's do what's right. Ties back into something that John Economist said when he was like, when do we ever do anything for the good of the people? He knows that everything is BS and only for power and government purposes. So some other highlights: the music this episode. I think the award definitely goes to the appearance of Foxy Shazam, the band that sings the theme song. They made a performance along with a band, Nelson, on that rock ship where Harcourt and Peacemaker had their powerful kiss. And there's another song that was, I believe, the highlight of the episode. I'm gonna say it and I might bleep it out, we'll see. It basically went, you gotta stop my heart in the ass. That song right there stuck in my head until I fell asleep. Thank God it did not affect my dreams. So as I said before, there was not that much in terms of surprises or shock elements in here. I just kind of knew that at the end, when everything went so good and the episode was coming to an end, I was like, it's not going to end like this. I was expecting Keith to smash through his door at the end and snatch him up, or the cameo that we all suspected or was expecting to come. I thought that's when it was going to happen, but it didn't. And where does this actually leave the show? Because some people speculated that this was going to be the finale, the series finale, but it wasn't stated that this is a series finale. But how does this connect now to the DCU moving forward. There was mention of Arkham and Belle Reve, that these places are not good and they can't hold these criminals, these meta criminals, and that's where they should be tossed also. So I think that's what we're going to be seeing, this major threat to metahumans, but we'll also see how the Lanterns connects to this. That's what I'm more curious about. What did you guys think of the finale? Did you think there was everything resolved, or what would you have liked to see them address in the finale, and what cameo were you expecting? Drop a comment below, let me know your thoughts. Peace.